So go ahead and check out that sight glass, and Grant, you can see how dark it's gotten. Dunkel, that looks like a stout right now. That looks black. I'll get a flashlight under that sight glass for you though. I like to be able to check that, make sure I don't have a bunch of grain going through there, especially when a beer is that dark. It's difficult to see without throwing a light under it. You can see it kind of has like these ruby highlights now. It's probably not black, it's probably a really dark brown. You can see a little bit of particulate coming through, but by and large it looks really good. You might be thinking to yourself, if you're familiar with the style of Munich Dunkel, that the beer shouldn't be this dark. But you have to keep in mind, I still have a lot of water to be adding to this. I like to use the analogy of kind of like coffee making, and if you broke the amount of water that you use to brew a pot of coffee in two and ran half through at once and separated that really dark, rich coffee, and then ran the second half of the water through and took that weak, lighter coffee, that's essentially what's kind of happening here in some ways, as far as a intensity type standpoint and color type standpoint. This is going to be the darkest portion of the wort, this first wort. But as we start sparging it and rinsing that grain bed, it's going to get lighter and lighter and lighter. This beer is going to be kind of just on the other side of like amber getting into brown. That's the deal. Marge, once you're done with that, can you do my acid and salts for this? And we're looking at right here, that portion. Yeah. Sweet, thank you. We've taken our wort sample, our gravity sample on this, and we're at 19 bricks, which is what I expect from this point in the process. I'm going to pull a small wort sample to cool down and take the pH of. Smells so good, making the beer. We're working on different songs. We have a song called Coworkers. It's really kind of a, I mean, for them it's really like it's a battle cry, inspirational music that touches their soul, their words, not mine. It's not something that I'm gonna sing right now. I like it to be organic and for it to basically just be what I like to call a joyful noise. Look at you.
Have you added more verses to the coworker song?
I like the look on Maggie.
The subtle head shake. Yeah. I don't know if you saw the subtle head shake. For my taste, it wasn't subtle enough. Yeah. All right, so we're second. Ooh, 11 seconds. So that wort sample that we just pulled off the mash tun, I'm going to be cooling down to take a pH sample on. We've already taken our gravity sample and measured that with the refractometer. My timer is going off for the recirc. Again, we just checked it a minute ago, but it really looks great. Pulled a lot of color. You can see kind of those amber garnet highlights in it, primarily grain-free. We're looking pretty happy. So I'm going to begin the process, and this point in the process is really all gravity fed, and this is the way the system is built. The mash tun is up higher than the kettle, and so I don't need to be using a pump to be doing this. You can just come right through. I'm just going to stop the pump from pushing it back up to the top of the grain bed, and then I'm going to be opening a valve down here on the side of the kettle, which just by gravity will allow flow of the wort heading into the kettle. With a brew house like this, you're going to find that a lot of things are done by feel and by visuals. It's just the way it is. Sometimes people say when their favorite brewery grows and they get, more fancy equipment and everything like that, sometimes they complain that the beer isn't what it used to be. My feeling is the beer's becoming what they actually want it to be. You know, big places that have more technology built into their brew house, they can dial it in. Their processes are super repeatable. We do everything we can, you know, and I feel as if we do a good job with that, but it's nothing like the automated systems that some people are running out there. And it's just different. There's some people that really enjoy that type of brewing, and I can see the high points of it, you know, being able to really dial things in, you know, so much more control over the process. There's something very satisfying about that. I get it, and I would enjoy that portion of it. But for me, I enjoy the hands-on portion of this too. So, I don't know, there's something about climbing around this thing and opening up valves, that's fun. When I got, so this is the beginning of the lauter, okay? We're starting to move, this is the beginning of the lauter. We're starting to move clear wort, so grain-free wort, out of the mash tun through the false bottom, or that screen on the bottom that's keeping all the grain out. So we're running nice clean wort, clear wort, now into the kettle. And that is all part of the lauter. After I get a couple of barrels into the kettle, I will begin to sparge, which is where I'll begin to kind of shower hot liquor tank water on top of the grain bed to continue rinsing out more sugars into the kettle. It's that idea of adding the second portion of your coffee water, right? When we kind of used that analogy before. So the original wort that we're running off right now is dark. It's the sweetest stuff that we're going to make in the whole process. It's the richest. And the second runnings are progressively weaker in flavor, weaker, it'll be less dense, so there'll be less sugar in solution. But when you add it all together, it kind of makes that good pot of coffee. It makes what you're shooting for. There's a couple of things that I'm tracking when we're sparging and lautering. Number one is the rate at which it's happening. I want this whole process of beginning to fill the kettle to last about 90 minutes. If I go slower than that, you can make the argument that I'm wasting time, I'm being inefficient. If I go faster than that, if I rush this process, I could be leaving sugar behind in the mash tun, and I don't want to do that. So 90 minutes is kind of the standard for getting good bang for your buck, and as far as the amount of sugar you're getting and efficiency in your process. You saw me set a timer. How I do that is I set a 15-minute timer, and I know for my system, I'm going to be running 18 barrels into this. I'm basically going to be running 1 barrel every 5 minutes into this kettle. So I just keep track of that. I keep track of it on my brew log as well. I would rather go a little slower at first, and then I can speed up a little bit as we go, as that grain bed kind of sets and figures out how it wants to be flowing. The whole idea of lautering and of sparging and of running liquid through the mash bed is I want it going through the entire mash bed. I want to be rinsing it thoroughly. One of the big keys in that part is me making sure that the pH of that water that I'm sparging with is appropriate. So you're going to see me hitting up the surface of the mash with a diluted acid solution, again 75% food grade phosphoric. It makes a big difference, especially in lagers. I've noticed that. There was a time where I wasn't treating my sparge water, dropping the pH of my sparge water, and you pull the graininess out of it, and like a non-pleasant graininess in the back end. And it's a fine point on these beers, but these beers are all about fine points. So anyway, I'm going to be dropping the pH of that. If the pH is high during the sparge, you're going to be pulling tannins out, so those harsh, grainy flavors, and that's what I'm trying to avoid. So that's really what I'm doing right now. I'm going to be tracking this and doing other little odds and ends as we go. So I think that's it. All right, everybody, thank you so much for watching. If you feel as if you got any value out of the video, please like and subscribe. There are also other videos that you can watch. They're going to maybe be over here or over here. Appreciate you watching.